today we're talking with Connor. He's a man of different companies and facets, but we'll first give you an opportunity to kind of introduce yourself and kind of what your companies are and what you work with.
Yeah, for sure. I'm Connor. I'm from Calgary, Alberta. Born and raised here. Turning 29 in February. I've struggled with mental health personally since I was a kid. One of my companies is called You Matter Most. It's my mission.
Look at us.
Oh yeah, Tucson. I love that. I got a shirt.
Yes.
It's a mission to normalize, mental health, and remove the negative stigmatizations associated with it. So I'm super stoked on that. It has such a special place in my heart. For me, I love sports. When I was younger, I actually moved to England to play soccer. Unfortunately, I had so many injuries
that happens in soccer. Yeah.
It does, and it left me like super depressed.
No kidding.
And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to reach out. I was suffering in silence and solitude. So yeah, You Matter Most, it's just for me, it's all my heart, and I did a lot of soul searching over the last couple of years, and I just knew my purpose was to give back to mental health. And if I could do anything, if I could share my story, if I could bring awareness, if I could talk to someone over a social media platform to, talk to them, to let them know what they're going through, if I can give some relatability. But yeah, You Matter Most is a merch company. So they're rocking the toques. I'm rocking a shirt.
Mm-hmm.
The logo says a lot.
Dylan was asking even today.
We were driving in the vehicle and I looked in the rearview mirror. I'm like, are those neurons? Is that a brain? Can you maybe explain the logo? This is a great opportunity to explain it. Yeah.
100%. If you're looking at the logo on the toques or my shirt, so it's a brain. So mental health always has the brain as their logo. And then you have the semicolon in the brain on the one of the sides for suicide awareness. I actually, in high school, I had a friend that committed suicide, and I made a promise to myself and for my family that I would never do something, I would never take my life. And I realized people do take their lives. It is a disease. Depression is a disease. So
absolutely.
And then You Matter Most, a simple blanket statement. I think a lot of people with mental health, they put themselves on the back burner, and at the end of the day, they need to put themselves on the front burner, and they need to dive into what they're going through. For me, it was a lot of trauma from my childhood that I never talked about until as of late. And just being vulnerable and sharing those experiences. So yeah, the logo for me was I wanted someone to be able to see it and be like, wow, that person knows about suicide awareness. They know about mental health awareness, and they may struggle themselves with mental health, or they might just acknowledge it. And so my dream for this was just, if I was walking down the street and I saw someone wearing it, that I could approach them and talk about mental health and create this healthy environment. And so my dream came true. It wasn't even me though. So I had two buddies. They were walking downtown, and one saw the logo, and they started talking because of the logo. And
in Calgary, this was?
In Calgary, yeah. They were downtown. It was two of my buddies. They aren't not friends, not mutual friends. And they ran into each other, and they saw the logo, and they started having a conversation just because of the logo.
No way.
And they started talking about their experiences with mental health.
That's awesome.
For me, when my buddy texted me, he's like, dude, I just ran into your buddy Tyler. I'm like, I literally got goosebumps because I'm like, how did you guys run into? And he shared this story with me, and I'm just I was blown away. I was, for me right then and there, I knew this is my purpose, and
that makes it worth it, right?
Pursuing this.
Yeah, that makes it worth it. Yeah,
we're so excited to do this partnership with you, and we also have that discount code that people can use, M&D, right? That's our nice little
M&D 10. Yeah.
Nice. Look at us, we got our own promo code. We seem so official. But we want to talk about, especially during the pandemic, a lot of people struggle right now with their mental health. It already could have been a thing before, but especially with the pandemic now, it's just kind of elevated that. So how do you think people can better themselves now?
Yeah, I would say, depending what you're struggling with, if it's anxiety, it's depression, a lot of people in this pandemic are been kind of forced to isolate, and that can be super challenging for people that are super based in like social activities and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So I would say still challenge yourself, like maybe learn how to do a dance, like,
Yeah.
learn how to play, and I'm serious. Like,
Dylan says he needs to learn how. What are we gonna take? We're gonna take
I do want to learn how to two-step better.
Two-step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Take like advanced two-step.
He's a country boy and he can't do
Yeah, I know,
step,
right?
So
Yeah.
Learn how to play an instrument. It's a time where we actually have more time to focus on things that we wanted to pursue before.
Yeah.
So it's like, write a story, make YouTube videos, try a new recipe, get creative in the kitchen, learn a new sport.
Yeah.
And I know learn a new sport can be super challenging with social distancing and whatnot, but you can still learn it. You can still look up YouTube tutorials how to start playing it. And then social distance, in the summertime, play some spike ball. Like it's an amazing time.
I love spike
So
ball. I love spike ball. One thing I wanted to do this winter that I haven't gotten to do yet is go out to like a lake and take my spike ball kit and play it on skates, because I saw the on the bench boys did that, so I want to do that. That'd be super fun.
I feel like that'd be so dangerous.
I know. I was like thinking the same.
It could probably cause some knee injuries, but
I can't skate very well, so I could just see me like just like in one spot, and if it's like just a little too far, I can't get it.
Well, you also have short arms. So.
Yeah, I actually saw that video too, and I was just like, I don't know, I want to share like how my brain works. I'm a hypochondriac, so I always fear the worst. So that's where a lot of my anxiety comes from. So I'm just like, just imagine like someone falling and their skate blade goes and cuts someone in the neck or the arm, and I'm just like, oh. Okay,
Connor, yesterday, I don't know what kind of loophole we went down on YouTube, and we went through all these videos of like NHL injuries. And there was
that one Zednik, Richard Zednik, when he gets the skate blade to the neck and like just it's because how we got there is we were watching the Connor McGregor fight. And then I got talking about Anderson Silva and how he like wrapped his, I don't know if you saw that one where he broke his leg and like wrapped it around the guys. So then we got down a rabbit
we
hole
went on
about
a real deep loophole for YouTube of injuries.
But I like what you said about like trying something new and like a new sport or a new activity, because I think that like a lot of the focus on the pandemic right now is like we've lost all these things. We can't go to concerts, we can't go to events, we can't do this, and the conversation is always about what we've lost. But I think that something that we're trying to do with us too is like talk about the things that we've gained. Like we've gained this time to be able to start a podcast, to be able to like there's no way we would have time to do a podcast or like be able to start a podcast if it wasn't for the pandemic. We probably wouldn't have met. Because if it wasn't for the pandemic,
you make that sound so bad.
No, but like honestly, like we would have such busy lives that I don't know if we would have crossed paths if it wasn't for the pandemic, that's on social media and stuff, right? So I think that like I like what you said about like trying something new or like realizing that you have all this time and like we have all this time that we haven't had before to try these new things. So that's super cool.
For you, what is kind of like you think the top things that people struggle with day to day, or maybe things that you struggle with day to day, and how do you combat that?
Yeah, I would just say day to day, I kind of mentioned a little bit before is people are experiencing anxiety and depression for the first time in their lives, being forced to isolate and not be around their sport networks or their community. So, first and foremost, I struggle with anxiety every day, but I've learned how to manage and cope with it. And for those people that are struggling in silence, that have never struggled with it before, I wish I could chat with them and give them some awareness, because I know how it feels to be in solitude and silence, and it sucks. It's a terrible feeling. So I would say anxiety and depression for sure. Some other mental illnesses are more genetic than others. So I'd also say maybe some people are becoming OCD because they have so much time on their hands. So, they're fixating on things they've already done, and because they're trying to stay busy. So,
Also, what is your TikTok handle?
Yeah, my TikTok handle is just tick. No, it's just Connor Duthie. So Connor and then Duthie.
Because you have some really great TikToks, just like of any different topic regarding mental health. It's like if you're struggling with like OCD, if you're struggling with anxiety, like you have some really great TikToks that people need to check out. That it's really like 15 seconds of their time. Like, oh wow, like this is really
and the
good
thing,
to learn.
I think another interesting thing you brought up there is that people are experiencing these things for the first time in their life. Like
100%.
Like mental health and struggling with mental anxiety is something that I've dealt with my entire life, but maybe somebody who, had a solid job and, had the relationship, had everything they needed and was just kind of cruising in life, having a good time. And then the pandemic hit and maybe they lost their job and maybe their relationship's struggling. Maybe they're dealing with new things that they've never dealt with. Mental health is a brand new thing to them, maybe because they never had to focus on it before. So I think it's really cool for platforms like yours and what we're trying to build as well is that like we want to educate people on what these things are, because if you're sitting there and you're like, what am I feeling? You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know what you're feeling, right? So having people that kind of think they know what they're talking about or try to figure it out for themselves as well is a cool platform to like help people. I think it's really sweet.
100%. I've been I noticed TikTok about like a year ago, and I was like, I started a page and I was just actually doing prank wars. It was bad with me. My sister went too far and I'm like, I need to get rid of this. I'm getting too much insight on things. But,
it's amazing.
That's good.
And then I came back to it in the last couple of months because my buddy, Levi, he actually talks about relationships and he saw so much growth and so much awareness. So I was like, man, I got to talk about like mental health is always, on my heart. So I was like, this is a niche that I think there need to be more men out there talking about it. So I was 100%. Like, you know what, I'm going to make myself vulnerable. I'm going to do it. I'm okay with sharing this stuff and I'm ready.
Yeah, that's very cool.
As long as you're like self-aware with that too, that you're okay with that, because also social media can be a beast of like people are just so rude and so negative, and you're like, oh,
100%.
Really?
100%.
What are some, you think, bad habits that can drain your energy, and what are some habits that have bettered your life that people can then, think about their life and say, oh, these are some things I need to key in that are negative and then that are positive for me?
Watching TikToks for 4 hours.
Yeah, scrolling TikTok. No, I think that's a good point. I think a lot of people are always focusing on like what can better their anxiety, but what are things or that can reduce your energy or make you feel worse. So it's a great topic. And I think, I always say like for me, my head goes to is like the 3 basic things for me is like poor diet. So someone that has a poor diet doesn't know much about nutrition. Skipping exercise when you're too tired. I think, people really need to push themselves when they're struggling the most to get exercise in, because it's actually short term it's going to suck because you're tired, but long term it's going to reduce and produce endorphins. So I think that's super important. And then also like removing toxic people out of their life. And I know that's for some it's a very sensitive topic, because sometimes those toxic people are their significant other or family members, but I found in my life when I've removed toxic people out of my life and also a toxic workplace, it's been super beneficial for my energy and my mental health.
I think that's super important, all 3 of those things. But I think like, I'm also like feeling, a little self-conscious because the first 2 things I've not done well recently, but my diet and my exercise program is definitely slipping a little bit, but we're going to get there. But I think your third one is really important, and it's really scary because like you said, those people that maybe are toxic or the ones that shouldn't be in your life or that are causing you the most harm could be the people that you love the most, or like, or people that you should be loving or you should be caring about or you should be with, but you don't realize that they're actually being a detriment to you, right? And I think 100%. That like removing them from your life is like the best part, but also like removing their expectation and their like trying to prove something to them from your life as well. I found that a lot for myself because I'm a people pleaser. Like that's how I operate, is like, I want to make and kind of what you're saying, like you matter most, that kind of hits me at home because I'm always caring about other people. And then I realize at the end of the day, I'm like, man, I am drained. Like I am,
it's not always tired about getting anything back, but you still need that back, right? It's not just a one-way 100%. Street.
Yeah. So I think with relationships too, it's about putting those boundaries in of like, okay, that person, I love them, but their opinion means nothing. Like, right. The opinion about myself matters most. And what I think about myself matters most. What they think about me, and this goes back to our episode about criticism that we had about constructive criticism and negative criticisms. I'm like, if somebody's not being productive in your life, they don't matter. Like they don't matter from a mental standpoint. Is like, you can take what they say, but like water off the duck's back is kind of what you need to like build up in your life.
Water
of like,
off the duck's back.
You've never heard that?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
You've never heard that?
I haven't heard that in a while, but
maybe I'm like morphing into my father, but it's like when a duck dives into the water and it comes back up, it's not going to be wet because it's like it's built to like withstand that moisture, that wetness. It just rolls off its back. Anyways,
it's a good saying. I've heard it before, so
okay.
Perfect. Yeah.
I love that.
We're going to do a more part series with you, Connor, in the next coming weeks of more talks about relationships and about men's mental health. So thank you for being on this first episode with you about talking about mental health. Also, this week is a really big week for you because you're going to try and do, big push on all of your You Matter Most brand.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I'm trying to connect with, some companies to do that. On a side note, January 28th, Bell Let's Talk Day. On that day, anyone that purchased something, I'm giving 100% of proceeds back to Canadian Mental Health Association.
Amazing.
I wish I could do that all the time.
Then you wouldn't have a company.
Everyone's on, like, when I do a TikTok live, they're like, why don't you give 100% away? I'm like, well, there's other stuff in the business, right? Like, I wish I could. I think, just before ending this episode, I didn't get to say that, for people that aren't, exercising or doing a poor diet, you just got to start somewhere. Just take baby steps. You can dive in or you don't have to, but just take baby steps. And there's so many good YouTubers or TikTokers that are giving a great advice. And then, I think that 3 things I would say maybe I didn't mention is like start a daily gratitude journal. And then the most simplest thing I say is like, when you get up, make your bed. Yeah. Just make it.
I'm getting called out.
I'm turning this podcast and Colin Dillon out podcast.
It's getting better. I promise it's getting better.
No, I struggle with that every day. But yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, gratitude journal, making your bed.
Yeah. And then I would say laugh often. Find stuff to laugh at. Surround yourself with people that make you laugh. It's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Connor, thank you for the chat today. We'll be talking more in the future. And yes, everyone, make sure you go check out the You Matter Most brand. And thank you for your time. We'll chat soon.
Thank you. You too.